I saw this story from Bill Orm and Sam Amick, both working it in The Athletic, and I think, look, it really helps the story. First, both those guys, we had them on. I know them both a little bit. Bill's covered the Lakers for years. Sam, of course, covered the NBA for years. So it's one thing if it's one guy with one source or whatever. You got two guys, it's a real story, and it's a real thing. The Lakers beat the Jazz last night, and it was an interesting one. They led early, then they were down in the fourth quarter. They came back and held on for the win over the Jazz, who do have Rudy Gobert back. So you're not going to, and they're playing without Anthony Davis. Get to that in 1 second. If you're a valued customer, you deserve a simple gesture of appreciation from your credit card company. And that's why Discover matches all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year. Discover, exceptionally common sense. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply. So here's the story. By the time the Lakers and the Jazz tipped off Monday, sources said Frank Vogel was coaching for his job after he narrowly avoided being fired in the wake of a 37-point road loss in Denver 48 hours earlier. Had a scene like that repeated itself against the Jazz, many believe it would have been Vogel's last game. Now, Frank Vogel got a contract extension of sorts before the season began. Remember, it was initially a 3-year deal, and he was extended by 2 years. Most people believe there's not a lot of meat to it in that final year of the deal, so he's got one more year left after this. And in comparison to players' contracts, you know, if it's $8-9 million a year, the Lakers can eat that. You can't eat the $90 million owed to Russell Westbrook. But this thing is, I mean, look, he's going to get fired. You don't leak that story out unless it's ultimately going to happen. That story does not come out. Nobody's emotions or chili is running that hot unless, and Frank Vogel was a hell of a coach 2 years ago. He's not a worse coach now. He's not less invested now. There has not been a change in Frank Vogel's philosophy or style or ability to get LeBron James to work with him. Is it hard to coach LeBron? Yes, nearly impossible. Right? One, he's very bright. Two, he has so much respect around the league. And honestly, so many people who cover the league will not point out any of his flaws. And it's really hard when, you know, his best friend and agent who he works with represents kind of half the team, right? How do you keep everybody happy? And if you don't think that keeping their stars happy is important to the Lakers, take a look at who they added to the front of the bench this offseason. They moved Mike Pemberthy, who, of course, played for the Lakers, up. He is Anthony Davis's guy. And they hired David Fizdale, who has a reputation of being LeBron's guy. Whether LeBron is really close with him or not doesn't matter. It's the perception. He was with LeBron in Miami. He's been a head coach. He did fill in when Vogel was out. But all this is covering for the fact that they screwed up. Between Russell Westbrook and his inability to shoot the basketball and make layups and make good decisions, and parting ways with Alex Caruso, who would come back to the Lakers for less, and changing from a defense-first team, that's why they won the championship 2 years ago, to one that can't guard a soul. And you factor in that Anthony Davis, stop me if you heard this before, is hurt. None of these things have anything to do with coaching, except maybe Russell Westbrook, who doesn't appear to be the most coachable lad on earth. Hey, I'm allowed to turn the basketball over. I'm allowed to miss. Are you that tone deaf? I mean, think about it now. If coaching Russell Westbrook was easy, it drove Billy Donovan away from Oklahoma City. It drove Mike D'Antoni. Mike D'Antoni got fired. Scott Brooks, who's the champion of Russell Westbrook, got fired. And now maybe Frank Vogel. Think about it. His last two stops, he was there 1 year, and the coach got fired. Now, you can tell me triple-double, former MVP, all you want. The only thing that matters is the team better off because you're on it? The answer is pretty clear.